Now this will tell us. And that's pretty conclusive. Still going. Close. I think he got it down.
How strong is he?
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another week of the Pick and Go Rugby podcast. Very pleased to be joined once again by the great Matthew Fisk and Richard Laddie. Got the three of us back together for the second week in a row. Welcome, lads.
Kia ora. Good to be here.
Thanks, Paddy.
Thanks very much. And just before we get into another huge week of rugby, obviously want to touch on the tragic passing of Sean Wainui earlier in the week. Very sad news coming across the wires on Monday. Obviously, it's still very raw for a lot of the rugby community in New Zealand, and you've seen a huge outpouring of emotion from a lot of the community. So just want to let Sean's whānau and all those who knew the man know our thoughts are with him. He obviously touched many people with his rugby and the rest of his life. A very proud Maori and great man. So tragic news there. And you saw a lot of outpouring from the All Blacks in Washington in particular last week and the rest of the New Zealand rugby community. So thoughts and prayers with everyone involved there.
Yeah, thank you, Paddy. And I think there's no doubt that Saturday night's or Sunday morning's game in Washington, D.C. will be dedicated to Sean's memory. And it's not just the match itself against USA. It's the start of an interesting tour that's culminating in end of November against France, who many sides see as a genuine World Cup hope. What are we thinking about the side they're going to put out on the field in that match? Is it going to be giving the new starters like Josh Lord a chance? What are we thinking?
I think you're going to see quite an experimental side. There's a few guys who, should we say, need a few yards under the belt after not playing a lot of rugby in the last month or so. Obviously, guys like Whitelock and Moanga who missed a good chunk of the Tri Nations. And there's some younger guys who this is the perfect opportunity to blood them with Wales, which is probably outside of the France test the biggest match the All Blacks will have circled for the end of season tour coming up next week. So yeah, I do expect to see a few changes when the squad's announced at 8:30 tomorrow morning. How about you, Richard? What are your any predictions?
Yeah, sort of going down the same sort of road as you there. Just with some of those guys who, coming back, haven't played for a while. So I imagine they'll get some time out there. It's hard to know what the sort of thinking is for these sort of games. They haven't played in 3 or 4 weeks, and but they want to give some guys. I'd like to see one thing I sort of wrote down was I'd like to see Will Jordan get a go at fullback. I think that he obviously got dropped for that second Springboks test, but such potential, and I'd like to see him get a good go there and see how he goes.
Yeah, that's actually a good one. I suppose it is a chance for the All Blacks to test a few different guys in different positions as well, and play around with that. I think Lord probably they're not going to chuck him straight in the deep end, right? He'll come off the bench at least. So I imagine Whitelock, given the news, he's regained the captaincy from Artie Severe and not Sam Cane for the end of year tour. You'd have to imagine he probably starts, and then it's one other in the second row with him, probably Lord off the bench. Is there any other?
I wonder whether they'll give even just like to Tuipulotu or something a go as well, because
I think Tuipulotu's gone back to New Zealand. Him and Scott Barrett were the two. That's why Lord got the call.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
I'd love to see
Tuipulotu over there, is he?
Yeah, that's actually another great shout. He was great in that second Argentina test. So
And I mean, Retallick was, he was huge in that whole sort of rugby championship. So maybe they'll give him an extra week off. But at the same time,
a bit cruel.
They've had 3 weeks off, so we'll see.
Yeah, I'd love to see Ethan Blacker to get 80 minutes. That's one player who was certainly on an upward trajectory, was huge in a couple of the opportunities he got during the rugby championship. Even that first test against the Springboks up in Townsville when it was only late on, he was a late in for Jacobson and really stood up there. So him in a bit of open space around FedEx Field could be a lot of fun.
Where would you like to see him played?
Probably 6, I think. Give him a bit of that Akira Ioane role, like roaming around the edges, and maybe him and Jacobson together in a loose sport.
Tutu a go as well. He seems to be sort of on the outer. I just wonder if he's on the outer a little bit. So they give him. This could be a good chance to sort of get him back in there and play him some form.
Absolutely. How about you, Fisky? Is there anyone else you'd like to see get a run on Sunday morning?
No, I'm kind of looking at it from the USA angle. I think New Zealand, there's no doubt, will ease into the tour, give everyone a run. Probably doesn't really matter who they put out there. USA coming off the back of a horrendous qualifying period, edged over Canada by a couple of points, and then lost to Uruguay. So they've got faced the embarrassment of trying to play Chile next year to make the World Cup. So how the mighty have fallen. I think the organisers would have been hoping for a more competitive match. The USA really haven't developed in the last 6 to 10 years, and despite the competition growing over there, I think that the local talent it's just not coming through. And I see the start 66.5. That seems massive. I know the All Blacks are almost untouchable in these type of games, but I think the plus is too big, personally. As bad as USA going, I think they've got a bit to prove. It's their last match of the year. A lot of players will be pushing for that spot in the qualifiers. I think the start's big, particularly New Zealand being a little bit distracted and trying a few different combos.
Yeah, so I suppose the closest corollary betting-wise, at least we have to this, is the Tonga Test at the start of the year, which the All Blacks got past that triple-digit mark. It was in the last second, or certainly close to it. I remember a lot of cheering late on in that game, but you'd have to say that was obviously not a full-strength Tongan team, given the MIQ restrictions and the issues they faced there. It's a lot of club rugby players and stuff. The USA, they're still a solid outfit, although haven't been at their best recently. It's probably at 66, you're still going to be nervous for a lot of the game, though, right? Like this All Blacks team, especially with the depth they're going to have on the bench later on, they can probably score 20 points, 3 tries in the last 5 or so minutes. So I wouldn't be talking anyone out of the 66.5 myself. Were there any markets that jumped out to you early in betting, Rissy?
Oh, look, I like to get a bit leery with it, and I had a look at the alternative point starts, and there was a USA plus 41.5 at $6.80. I think it could go either way. It's quite a $6.80, so it's a real value bet there. But I can just see the All Blacks sort of starting strong, but just sort of coming off the throttle a little bit in the second half, perhaps maybe sort of similar to that. I think it was the second Argentina test where they looked really good in the first half, but then they just sort of second half, Argentina scored a try, a couple of penalties and all that. So it's a really hard one. That those big lines. I always say, oh no, I'm gonna go on the plus and the plus, and always the minus always comes in. But I think if I'm gonna have a bet in this game, I will definitely be on that plus, and then I'll be looking a little bit more with the plus as well.
I like that alternate start, because if you look at USA, they've played 4 matches in the past 6 weeks. They're pretty settled. They played France and England at the World Cup, lost by 38 and 24. And I think it was Namibia we played. The start was around 70, and we won 71-9, so 62-point margin. And Namibia aren't in USA's class. So, everything points to me to the plus getting up quite comfortably. Like, they won't be competing at a level that'll worry points, and they can still tackle. They're a slow side, but they can tackle.
Counterpoint, they did lose by 61 to an Ireland team missing all their Lions earlier this year. So
I did say that.
That was in Ireland, and one of those was a short-term tour. So it was a tour. They were over there for 2 weeks, and I think it's a total different story at home and settled. Right. It wasn't one of those short-term. Trips across. They haven't got within 40 odd of England the week before as well. So we still haven't got a margin that's covered the 66. Put it that way.
Yeah, fair enough.
And the game was quite close, I think, wasn't it? It was
14 points. Yeah, they came roaring back in the second half.
Obviously, without the Lions, but
anyone who watches NFL will know FedEx Field's not known for its quality of turf as well. So if you're chasing a big minus, it could get a bit tricky there. They had a game there last weekend, and it's never in the best condition, that field. So it's Yeah, it's probably one. It's a bit complicated. I'd be more tempted to play an alternate start either way if you do have a strong lean and try and get a bit of value there, because I think the bookies have done quite a good job with the 66. But
I said 41.5 because that was the highest it went to. But yeah, you can probably get into that sort of 50 sort of 50-55 zone. I think it'd still be good value on offer.
No interest in New Zealand by more than 80 at 450 from either of you, I take it?
Nah.
No, I don't think it's that type of weekend. Now, next week it's really going to burst open, and the week after with a lot of matches. But there is one other in Oita in Japan. So they're hosting the Aussies. And looks like it might, Karevi might be out. And Quade Cooper will just get the one match on this tour, play in Japan and then stay there for his club duties. So Japan have done a reasonably strong squad. It's a little bit weaker than I expected. So Matsuyama, who's the South African-born fullback and winger, he's out. And I just think that weakens a little bit of their drive. But such a well-drilled side, I think they'll compete. I haven't seen the start open up, but it looks like it'll be in the low 20s, I'd say. So pretty competitive match. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm expecting, obviously, Japan, in terms of preparation, they're always right on the money. Jamie Joseph's going to have had an eye on this game for a while. He'll have a few tricks up his sleeve, no doubt. But going to be a very well-coached game on both sides, to be fair. Dave Rennie and Jamie Joseph in the coach's box there. But I do, obviously, the way Australia hit their straps the last few weeks of the Rugby Championship, you'd expect them to be too good. But I expect Japan to put up a fight. Maybe a game to look at the overs if both teams have a few set plays able to get across the line. Hunter Paisami back in the midfield scares me a little bit defensively if I was going to be on the Wallabies. So I think Joseph will be able to drop a few plays, probably with Tim Lafayette as a strong ball runner in the midfield to take advantage of that Wallabies midfield combination. And if James O'Connor maybe is back in the 10 jersey for Australia, he'd seem to be over his calf complaint by the end of the Rugby Championship. He'll give the Wallabies a bit more of that X factor as well. So maybe look at the overs and Australia and a not huge margin for me.
It's an interesting time for Japan because Shota Hori, who was a stalwart there at hooker, and then Tanaka at halfback. They're both mid-30s, not selected for this match. Looks like their careers are over. They kind of need to – they've grown so much in the past 10 years, the exact opposite to USA, but they need to keep that going. Matsushima is a perfect example of some of the talent they got, even though he was born offshore. They've named a few Aussie-born players in their squad. Interesting. I think they might be a little bit off the pace in comparison to their World Cup 2 years ago. So, I think you're right. I think Rennie's got the Wallabies firing. I'll take that minus, I think.
Yeah, and especially in terms of to put in a bit of horse racing parlance, this is a big step down in grade for the Wallabies coming from the Springboks and the All Blacks to Japan. Would you agree with that, Rissy?
Yeah. I was just probably thinking along the same lines as Fisky there. I think I probably would get on the Australia with the start. We haven't seen a lot of Japan. What's just been those sort of that game against the Lions and they play Ireland or they play England. They play with another one of those English teams. So, and it's been a long time since 2019. So it's an exciting opportunity for them, and hopefully they'll be able to sort of put up an entertaining fight. But I think Australia will be too strong. They'll come in full of confidence after those 2 wins over the Springboks.
No actual lineup as of the time of recording. Well, if you had to have a guess, Fisky, where do you think it will land?
The line. I think at low 20s. I do. I've got nothing to suggest that's what they'll go up. Nobody's up. We've sort of got the match open, but market suspended. So, I think low 20s is fair. It might be lower. It might be mid-teens. I think they played the British and Irish Lions in the UK at Twickenham, and the start was only about 18. So at home against the Wallabies, low 20s, high teens.
Yeah, if you're getting anything around sort of short of that 17-19 mark, I'd be pretty keen to steam into the Wallabies with the way they can score points. We saw in the Rugby Championship, I'd have to say.
I'm with you. I just hope the bookies take the Wallabies a bit lightly. Yeah, so British and Irish Lions at Murrayfield, end of June. Start was 18.5, and admittedly the Lions only won by 18, but kind of foreshadowed a pretty ordinary tour for them. So, yeah, Japan did go on to get beat pretty. They lost by 8 to Ireland. So there's a bit of form, but the bookies might get spooked here and then you go mid-teens. So hopefully they do. Keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, for sure. I'll be hitting refresh plenty between now and hopefully later this evening when the line does come up. I think that pretty much does us for international rugby, unless there's anything else. I know you were quite the tour guide last week, Fisky. That there's nothing else going on in South America or anywhere you want to touch on before we head back to New Zealand and go through the Bunnings NPC. Yeah,
I think we can go to Bunnings NPC. It really will open up the next fortnight, and we can go through the spoils of European rugby. But until then, we can focus on NPC.
Yeah, for sure. And plenty to recap from last week. We'll start off last Friday night at Rotorua, and I can already see you shaking your head, Fisky, because boy,
too good. You're too good. Last week, you're too good, Paddy. I've got to be cocky. Yeah, you get cocky, you get beat. And I probably only got 1 out of 4 matches right last week. It was a shocker, and it started that way on Friday night. I thought, I thought Northland won that game everywhere but the scoreboard. That second half was just a matter of, I think I got held up twice. Probably had the ball in the 20 for a good 10 minutes of that 40. But to Otago's credit, they held them out. So no complaints. I just thought they'll win here and they'll probably get another one too. And they just couldn't get across the line. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, no, it was a very frustrating watch. That sort of first 15 to 20 of the second half was bad enough. They had, 3 rolling mauls from the 5 out, Otago down a man, just banging on the door but couldn't get across. And then I was watching it on Sky Go and the stream cut out for a second, and next minute Josh Ioarden's running the other way, 80 metres down the park, and Otago are over in the corner. So, pretty tough watch. It was, the process seemed to be right, but Northland just couldn't put the points on the board, unfortunately. But, Taranaki and Hawke's Bay, both very impressive victors on Saturday afternoon. I think we all saw Taranaki doing that to Waikato, right? That's right in saying
I think we nailed that.
Yeah,
I was probably expecting it, what was it, 7 or 8 penalties in the end, was it? So I was probably expecting them to get their points out another way, but they got the win at the end of the day. So
these are the best 2 teams in the country. We have to say, right? Yeah. I don't know. Tasman probably still deserve to be mentioned in there, but just the form they're both in. Like Hawke's Bay going down to, I don't want to cry on this too much, but Hawke's Bay going down there and just putting the sword through Canterbury like they did was super impressive. Like without Ash Dixon, obviously the Shield Challenge coming up this week and they're playing great. It's not the same sort of last year. Hawke's Bay were they still threw the ball around a bit. It was a forward oriented team. They were grinding teams to dust with their pack, but they've got some talent out wide, and the way some of those youngsters have come on in the back line, and they're playing sort of champagne rugby out back now, which was it was a lot of fun to watch on Saturday, I would have to say.
Just so good at taking the opportunities, you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. There was just like a few things, and there was that 20-minute period in the first half, where it was 0 after 20 minutes, and then they were up by 30 or something at half time. Where there was about 2 or 3 of those tries, and they just could have gone either way, but they just pounced on the ball and some beautiful offloads, and it was good to watch.
Yeah, but
it wasn't good to watch because I was supporting Canterbury, but
like this one for you, Fisky. But like the Melbourne Storm, they love most of their points must come from outside the 22. Half their tries, it seems like they're sort of length of the field or something.
Yeah, it was a classic matchup of 2 sides that. They might have shared possession 50-50. They might have even shared field position 50-50. But what they did when they had the ball in their hands was chalk and cheese. Like Canterbury just going sideways, 1-out runs, absolutely no imagination. It was quite elementary. Whereas Hawke's Bay just seemed to break the line at will and had multiple runners in movement. It's hard to defend against. I thought it was brilliant rugby, deserved it. And I think they have a few gears in them as well. I don't think they put the foot down. So real worrying for Canterbury, but Hawke's Bay without doubt, one of the top two sides in the country at the moment.
Yeah, no doubt. Another team who looked pretty impressive on Saturday evening. I'm least excited to talk about this game, even though was on the Wellington 13 Plus. Was pretty efficient job from the Lions up in Palmerston North. You'd have to say, right? Like, sort of just kept the turbos at arm's length and did the business, which is not something we're used to saying about a Wellington team, Richard.
No, well, it sort of looked like they might sort of return to their ways where they sit that big start and then, they were out by 15-3 or something like that, and then at half time, so Manawatu started clawing back, and but yeah, Manawatu just weren't able to sort of take their chances. They made a few sort of pretty massive rookie errors and were made to pay for it. There was that. I think there was a moment where they were sort of attacking them on the Wellington 22, and then there was that knock on, and then Wellington sort of broke through, got to the other half, and then they scored pretty soon afterwards. So just to take opportunities. And Wellington very much did. How good was that chip and chase, Patrick?
Oh, yeah, I was the one reason and one reason only I'm disappointed Paul Mighty isn't with us this week is because I was sure he was going to have about 3 verses on that Ruben Love chip and chase. That I was out of my seat. Obviously fully supporting Manawatu, but what Ruben did there with the ball was just beautiful. It was.
You love to see it.
You absolutely love to see it. Yeah. Any takeaways from that game from you, Fisky?
No, well, I was watching it after a very long day on the punt. Hastings and Ramwick and Caulfield. It was a big day, but no, it was clinical. I think it really does make a difference if and when Aaron Smith's available. I believe it's to do with the birth of his child. That's what's been going on. So I've got no view or insight as to whether he'll be available this week. But yeah, they just seemed on top the whole match. And yeah, Ruben Love. So he's brought up in Palmy. Is that correct?
He's a Manawatu boy, Palmerston North High School product. His old man and his uncle both played plenty of games in the green and white. So yeah, we'll claim him.
Yeah, I think that would have meant a lot to him. So no, it was. Yeah, clinical. It's good to see Wellington get a couple of wins in a row. But, the game on Sunday was strange, wasn't it? The non-competition match in ordinary conditions, and it kind of just passed you by, something to do on a Sunday arvo.
Yeah, going to be honest, I did not see a lot of that game. I was enjoying a couple of the Hawke's Bay region's fine red wines. So it was Sunday afternoon. Yeah, I don't know. Did you learn anything from it, Fisky?
No, not at all. Not at all. I don't know how to take these games. I know they're putting in, and you don't know which side will take it more serious than the other. And I see that. We'll look at that Wellington Southland game at Porirua this week the same way. It's just, will Wellington be up for it? Will Southland be up for it? I don't know. I just find these games really tricky.
Yeah, no, it's certainly a tough one to get a read on betting wise. It is at Porirua Park, so that I think will bring the teams a bit together. Probably not as flat a track as you get at the Cape Tin. But yeah, not a game I'm going to be. No lineup as the time of recording, but not a game I'm going to be. Was it good to see at least Tasman scoring a few points again, Rissy? They obviously had the struggles the week before against Hawke's Bay and maybe hadn't been at their explosive best apart from the demolition job against Southland. So again, to do it against a good teams, probably, that's something for the Mako, if nothing else.
Yeah, they'll take a lot away from that. I mean, for myself, I was expecting a bit more from Bad Plenty and head back them, so I was disappointed to see Tasman back in the points. But they look good, and they just, I mean, as Fisky sort of alluded to, it is a sort of a weird, hard game to sort of pick those games, and they obviously turned up, and we're much better on the day, so they'll come into this week and be full of confidence. Not full of confidence, but more confident.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we should probably. Sure. Oh no, of course they got the week off, but we should. Yeah. There are 4 pretty interesting games, so we should get onto it. It's kicking off what I think is a more intriguing clash than I might have expected a couple of weeks ago, given the relative trajectories of the two teams. We've got the Southern Derby kicking off the round. Otago taking on Canterbury down in Otago. Canterbury still, despite their loss last weekend opening, as 4.5 point favourites. They're $1.48 in the head-to-head market. Otago 250. Fisky, should Canterbury be favourites over anyone on the road the way they're playing at the moment?
Can we get some sort of alarm or alert when we get a false favourite? I can't see how Canterbury are favourites here. I think it's a false favourite game. I'll be gobsmacked if this doesn't jump 2 or 1. I think all the money will be on Otago, and not necessarily because Otago are in great form. They were lucky to win at Northland. Let's face it, but Canterbury I don't see any change, and they've changed their halves partnership. They had to do something. I don't like the look of this Canterbury side. I think it's one-paced, and doesn't matter where you look. I think they're all solid players, but no one really taking the lead. I think they've moved Debrasini into the 10 jersey. I think he's okay. They weren't liking what they were getting last week from their 10. So I think they've just sort of moved the deck chairs on the Titanic. I think it'll be another plodding effort. I don't think they're in line to get flogged, but I can't see them clearly better than Otago, particularly at Forsyth Bar.
Yeah, you'd have to say the value certainly on Otago. I personally just think Canterbury's still reeling from the loss of Brett Cameron. He was keeping that ship together all along. As a local, are you hearing that from your contacts down in Canterbury, Rissy?
Yeah, they were just really below par last week, and very, very hard to sort of follow them in again this week. Southern Derby, plenty on the line, and never easy to play under the roof down there. So I was quite confident in them last week. I thought they were going to bounce back from that loss to Wellington, and when they hosted Hawke's Bay, but they played out of the park and looked stationary. Otago's hardly been setting the world on fire. They're coming off their win against Northland, which they were probably lucky to win in the end. But they managed to sort of give Taranaki a really good challenge at home a couple of weeks ago. So they'll take plenty from that. And I will not be back in the favour in that game.
And just with sort of how we touched on the way Hawke's Bay was scoring a lot of those tries last week, and on a nice day down in Christchurch under the roof, Otago with the guys like Ioane and Karoi and some of those backs they do have the ability to spread the ball wide. And
how good was Ioane on Friday night? Just he had a couple of really nice touches there, and sort of his kicking probably won them the game in that game in the end. But he set up all 3 of the tries, or at least 2 of the 3 tries. So nice to see him playing with some confidence.
Yeah, it would be great to see him reach that level he got to a couple of years ago if he can get a bit more, and hopefully get some game time for the Chiefs as well. I think that pretty much we're all on the same page there. Are we going to be all on the same page in the next game? Because unlike the traditional pick and go ethos for this NPC season, I'm not having any of this underdog, even though they are Manawatu.
Nah.
Yeah.
It's hard to make a case for them, I think.
Yeah, how can you go against Taranaki in the form they're in? Doesn't matter if they're home or away, big favourites, outsiders, doesn't matter. They're winning, and they're winning well every week.
Yeah, maybe before last week's game, I think maybe I would have given Manawatu a little bit of a chance, but they sort of just were a bit, couldn't quite sort of get their A into G against Wellington last week. So it's hard to see Taranaki not running all over them this week, especially at home.
Yeah, on the road as well for Manawatu, Taranaki have a very good record in there, which is an underrated, spicy rivalry as well between these 2 provinces. A lot of sort of players go back and forth between one and the other. I just think I presume it's at Inglewood, so it'll be right up to. And Taranaki are winning games a lot of different ways. Like we didn't even mention last week, they had pretty much every loose forward out injured. They had to play Bradley Slater at open side, and they still did a job on Waikato, who had not long ago beaten Tasman. I just think, like we said, last week they kicked 5 or 6 penalties and only scored 2 tries against Waikato, but they can win by throwing the ball around and scoring all over the park like they did against Wellington. So when we saw what happened when Wellington put their foot down against Manawatu, and I'd expect something pretty similar to happen. Taranaki, a much more well-drilled side than Wellington from what I've seen this season. Lack of home field advantage as well for Manawatu. Day game.
Yeah. And Taranaki won 6 straight against them, and by a margin of 17.5 points in each game. So average. So sort of gives you a bit of an idea of where how this matchup's been in the last few years, and the fact that Taranaki are playing so good at the moment.
Do we have our promo on the margin this week? Is that running again?
Yes, I believe it's still running on all 5 games, including the non-competition game. NPC bonus back. Are you steaming into the 13 plus?
Yeah, like it seems line up perfectly. You just can't see them losing the match. So hit the 13 plus, and if they, for some reason, get into a tight tussle, you'll still get your money back up to $50.
Yeah, no, it's a perfect sort of game for that. Like we've touched on these games where you're pretty confident on one side, so you get stuck into that, and then you've got the bit of insurance. And anything else you guys want to mention from Inglewood before we move to what I think is the game of the round?
No.
Let's get to it.
Because this is another game where I'm well and truly on the bandwagon. I don't know if it was the red wines or the hospitality app in Hawke's Bay, but yeah, I can't see them losing here. They got Hawke's Bay, got the Shield Challenge, 7:05, McLean Park, Waikato coming to town. They're pretty warm favourites, though. The bookies seem to have not made the same mistake they did last week. We've got Hawke's Bay $1.35 head-to-head, 8.5-point favourites now. That's certainly grown a couple of points from where it was earlier in the week. Waikato $3 to chuck the Shield in the trunk and take it back to Hamilton with them. Any of you guys giving Waikato a chance here?
I think the bookies have got it right. It's a good price for both sides. So I don't think I'll be playing this game. I wouldn't talk any Waikato fans out of backing them. I think the price is right. So they're a hope. There's some hope. They're going to have to take a mighty change in fortune to see Hawke's Bay drop off a bit, but they've got it in them. Like you say, they've had a couple of good wins this year. So I don't know if I'd take the plus, but $3 plus. I think you got some hope.
Yeah, I think they hardly sort of embarrassed themselves last week, did they? They really took it to Taranaki, and I mean, as you say, Taranaki had a few injuries and all that, but they were very much in that game, basically for the whole game. So yeah, I think they played some exciting footy and threw the ball around a bit. So I think that they're not. I'm not saying they can't win, but I've already taken on Hawke's Bay in 2 Shield challenges this year, and I owe Paul Moati 2 carries because of it. So I don't think I'll be making that same mistake again this week.
Yeah, no, that never want to be in Paul Moati's debt. That's one of the more scary places to be in the Southern Hemisphere. I'm very happy to once again be all over Hawke's Bay here. I think, the 8.5 it's probably about right, but I could very, very easily see them winning this game 13 plus. Like if the passes stick like they have been the last few weeks. Waikato, I mean, they were good against Tasman and, didn't disgrace themselves against Taranaki last weekend, but they took a big L to Northland not long before that. Like they've been up and down. The losing at home to Canterbury doesn't look so impressive now as it might have a few weeks ago. So yeah, I'll be taking advantage of NPC bonus back here. Hawke's Bay 13 plus $2.30. I think that's a nice wee play, and a little bit late. Waikato are probably more of a live chance than Manawatu certainly are, but the way Hawke's Bay are playing at the moment, I can't see them giving up the Shield for a decent amount of time. That's for sure. They'd take a really good team, like a fully firing. I mean, Tasman were fully firing. We thought going up there, or maybe in Auckland or a more, and their day Canterbury. So
lucky.
Yeah, that is a game. Unfortunately, we're not going to. Well, we did see earlier in the season, but not going to see again in the finals, given the championship premiership split. But the less said about that, the better. So I'll move swiftly along to the final game of the round on Sunday afternoon, where Bay of Plenty off that non-competition game against Tasman. They're hosting Northland at the Tauranga Domain. We're all very keen on Northland as underdogs last week. They're 14.5 here. I don't know if. Is this a siren going off for you sort of game, Fisky?
No, it's not a false favourite, but I do lean to the plus here. I'd struggle to back Waikato or Manawatu at the plus, but Northland, I haven't been that impressed with Bay of Plenty for many weeks now. It's just not their year, and since they got beaten in cruel circumstances in Napier, they just haven't bounced back. And off the pace against Taranaki, off the pace, particularly in the second half last week. They should win, but I'll give Northland I'll give them a hope to hang in there, try for try. I think it'll be a high score, and they might just sneak in and backdoor cover it, or might be right in it. I think Northland and plus is the play here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm pretty keen on the 14.5 as well. Just also you think about relegation, obviously not being a concern for Bay of Plenty now, whereas Northland is still a live chance of getting one of those semi-final spots. So they'll be going pretty. It's a pretty wide back door with 14.5 for Northland. What are you thinking, Richard?
Yeah, has this game been played up in Northland?
Tauranga Domain, Bay of Plenty game.
Yeah. No, I think that is the bet. I mean, there'll be plenty of sort of emotion going through this game, I'm sure. But it's always hard to know how it's going to play out. But but as sort of Fisky alluded to, I was thinking the same. Since they had that sort of Shield challenge, I thought they were looking quite bad before that, and then they sort of probably got lost in extra time, and since then just haven't really quite bounced back. They looked a bit flat against. I mean, it was a non-competition game, but looked a bit flat in that game against Tasman last week. I don't think they were able to sort of score a try. But yeah, I was surprised to see the line that big. I really was. I thought that Northland had probably done enough to justify it being a little bit shorter. But yeah, we'll see. If I'm having a bet, I'll be taking the plus.
Is there that much difference between Bay of Plenty and Otago, the way the two teams are currently playing? Probably, I think there's...
Yeah, a little bit.
Northland, not 10 points, whatever the line swung the last. Like, it wasn't on the score, but it was an 11-point loss, but it wasn't probably on the field. If you play that game 10 times, I don't think Northland lose them by 11, given the swings of play and the relative, control of the game.
Historically, Northland's actually, I think they had they've won 3 of the last 7 games between these two teams. So it's not like it wouldn't be unheard of for them to, pull an upset here. So definitely.
And Bay of Plenty probably not as strong as they were a couple of years ago when they had Clayton McMillan and that really good team that got promoted.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, should we get the punters and best bets? Is there any other points you want to touch on before we?
No,
I think we've covered it well, guys.
Well, do you want to kick us off with your best bet for the weekend then, Fisky?
Yeah, I'm going to ship over to the home of the brave and land of the free, or whatever they call themselves. I'm going to take USA here with the start. We've talked about historically it ticks a lot of boxes, a lot of situations. New Zealand not covering these starts on the road. USA constantly covering these types of starts against Tier 1 nations. You can't see them competing play to play, but I think they'll cover the 66. And I actually think it'll be in the 40s personally, maybe low 50s. So I think it'll be a nice cover, nice plus bet there, USA.
Nice one. And you, Richard?
Yeah, don't mind that, Fisky. I'm just gonna go with the gut and just say that Taranaki minus 12.5 number 2. I think they're obviously we've alluded to it, probably the best team in the comp at the moment. Well, they are the best team in the comp at the moment, and should be bigger favourites than that. So happy to take that at $1.87.
I'll take I'll go the 13 plus just so I get the bonus back insurance myself. But it's my best bet of the week. Taranaki are a much better side than Wellington at the moment, so Wellington can for a minute or two. I think Taranaki will have no problem doing the same. What about a bit of value, Fisky?
Yeah, it's not massive price, but I like the Otago head to head. What have we got there? 240,
250.
250. Otago head to head against Canterbury. I think I actually graded them 2-point favourites, Otago. And getting 250 is a bit of a steal. I think it'll be a very close game. Could go either way, and you're getting a very good odds against price. So Otago for me.
Nice one. How about you, Essie?
Also like Otago, and I'll just to mix it up, I'll take the bonus back insurance. So Otago 1 to 12, 375. I think that they should be a lot closer than it is, and it's never easy going down playing under the roof. So very happy to take that one. 375.
That's one. I'm staying in Inglewood. I'm just going to take Taranaki with an alternate start. I think if they do kick into gear, they could run up a bit of a score here. So I've got Taranaki minus 21.5 at $3 for my value bet. Not that I'm hoping for it, but if it's a price, it's a price, right?
What did they lose to Wellington by in the end? Was it 20? It was over 20, wasn't it?
Yeah, 20 points exactly. And Taranaki, what they beat Bay of Plenty by 27 a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Beat South. Yeah. No, they're
Probably pretty safe bet.
Yeah, absolutely. We've already touched on it plenty, but if you were having one NPC bonus back bet for the week, Fisky, where are you going?
I'm going back to Hinglewood. I think that 13 plus is a steal. Should win, and I'll be absolutely gobsmacked if you're not getting bonus back up to $50 if they only win 1 to 12. But I think they'll win and win well, Taranaki, and you'll get your money back if they don't.
Hard to argue with that. What about you, Richard?
I'm going to the Renfrew Shield Challenge. Hawks. Sort of undernoted about this, but it's probably a good thing to be undernoted about when it's bonus back. I'm going to go 1 to 12 for $3. Waikato probably good enough to keep it tight, but and if Hawke's Bay run away with it, I'll take my bonus bet back. So yeah.
Nice one. I'm also going with the Shield Challenge because I'm already on Taranaki 13 plus, so I'll just double that up and go Hawke's Bay 13 plus. I think we can see them run up a score at McLean Park. Lovely weather in the Bay this time of year. Throw the ball around a little bit. I think they could put a score on Waikato, and I feel pretty good about getting the 1 to 12 insurance. So Hawke's Bay 13 plus for my NPC bonus back bet. Nice. How about a multi-anchor? What's going on all your multis, Fisky?
Oh, well, if we haven't any prices up at the moment, but I don't think Wellington are losing to Southland, that's for sure. So yeah, and Hawke's Bay head to head against Waikato. I'd put those two in as multi-anchors. I don't think they're losing.
Richard?
Hawke's Bay Taranaki for me at $1.66. Just head to head. I can't see either of them losing. Similarly, Chuck Wellington in there as well. And I don't know what that's going to come up to, but I think that's pretty safe.
Yeah, Hawke's Bay are my official multi-anchor, but I wouldn't talk anyone out of a little Saturday Taranaki, Wellington, Hawke's Bay, Wallabies multi. That 4 legs would be. I don't know what you get to.
I did actually come up with a multi. It was Hawke's Bay head-to-head, Taranaki head-to-head, Otago plus 10.5, and Northland plus 20.5 at $3.60. So,
bad. Like that one. All right, and we'll just finish things off with a try scorer. Obviously, teams haven't been announced for any of the games at time of recording, so now I'm going to have a bit of wild speculation. I think I just tipped Ash Dixon last week and he didn't end up suiting up, so could be a bit hit or miss. But who you got your eye on if they do make the team list, Fisky?
Oh, it could go anywhere. No, I'll have to wait for teams. No one's jumping out of me, but actually the safest bet you'll get is a number 2 for Hawke's Bay. Whoever that is, it's just a lock, isn't it? So let's not get too caught up in players that we love seeing running around. Just go the number 2 in the Magpies jersey. They'll score a try.
And you, Richard?
It's good logic. He may not play, but Emmanuel Jensen did it for me last week. So if he's playing for Wellington, he'll be mine. But if he's not playing, I'll have a look at the Taranaki match. And Kenny Naholo, he was, scored one last week, set up another. And just one of those guys, every time he gets the ball, just looks like he's going to do something. So, I think that wouldn't be surprised to see a few tries in that match and for him to go over also. So, but Emmanuel Jensen's my official one.
Yeah. I'm going hopefully one spot inside Peter Emmanuel Jensen, but he might be at fullback. He might be coming off the bench. Talking about players we love to see play, Ruben Love, he's scoring at Southland, even if he only gets a few minutes. Yeah, the man he's on fire. Good Manawatu boy, even if he's not in the green and white at the moment. That'll finish it up for best bets for the week. Hopefully managed to find a couple of winners in there. We'll be back this time next week to break it all down and preview what should be a pretty exciting test between the All Blacks and Wales at the Principality Stadium in 10 days' time. So really looking forward to that. Thank you very much for joining us, Fisky and Richard.
Thank
you, buddy.
All right, hope you managed to find some winners too this weekend. I think we'll be on some pretty similar multis by the sounds of things. So no doubt there'll be a bit of chat flowing back and forth. And same to all you punters. Hope you go well this weekend. Enjoy all the footy, and we'll talk to you again in a week's time. Cheers.